We have never seen a graphics card like this before, and we are so excited to see what it's really about.
This graphics card costs $80 and it has this beautiful design on it. It's all white and a graphic that some of you are really gonna love, but should you buy this graphics card? We're gonna talk about that, but first, a word from today's sponsor. Are you tired of your unactivated Windows install on your gaming PC? Well, today's video sponsor, GVG Mall, has you covered. GVG Mall is an online marketplace to gain access to really awesome discounted game keys, and more specifically, as we mentioned, Windows 10 licenses. It
is incredibly easy to get your Windows 10 or 11 activation key from GVG Mall. Just use code TB20 to get a special discount, and then all you have to do is take that code, put it into Windows, and boom, you have an activated Windows copy.
We have been working with GVG Mall for several years now, and we love the reliability of all the products they have to offer, so be sure to check the link in the description down below. Use code TB20 to save on your next purchase of a Windows key or other product from GVG Mall.
So this graphics card is an RX 580 2048 stream processor 8GB model, and what makes it so unique is the fact that it's a big 3-fan card and it has the whole waifu design on it, which we have never seen a 3-fan 580 in our lives before.
And in this craze where the RX 580 2048 stream processor is one of the best budget cards all over Amazon and AliExpress, this one really stands out, and it's only about $20 more at $80 versus the cheapest options you can get. But the real question is this card worth it being a 3-fan card and an all-white design, or should you just stick with the cheaper option? Let's go over the key specs of the 580 and then talk about our test bench. Now, some of the key specs of the RX 580 2048 stream processor, for those who have not seen this card, is it has 2048 cores or stream processors. It is basically a 570 8GB. It does come with 8GB of GDDR5 memory. It is a PCI 3.0 by 16 card that has a base clock of 1168 megahertz with a boost of 1284 megahertz. Now, I do have to say, one graphic that is on the AliExpress listing that makes me laugh is, and I'm gonna show Jackson this for the first time, the RX 580 with RTX off versus RTX on. Don't do ray tracing with an RX 580, and I don't know why the advertising shows that. It says the 580 is for advanced platforms with AI technology and is able to fully unleash the power of the graphics card, making picture quality more realistic and faster. Shout out to AliExpress for having absolutely great listings. But what we're gonna do is talk about this test bench right here, which we use to test all our graphics cards, and then dive into some testing to see if this card is worth the money.
Now to go over our test bench, we have the Ryzen 7 5700X 8-core 16-thread cooled by a very nice 240 ml liquid cooler for all that cooling capacity. We have 32 gigs of PNY Accelerate 3600 MHz RGB RAM, a 1 terabyte Team Group NVMe SSD. We have an Asus TUF B550 Micro ATX. We have an XPG 650 watt 80 plus bronze power supply, and then all of this is inside of a very nice deep cool case with lots of RGB fans that run very fast, so we have good airflow. So now that we have talked about the test bench and this really crazy graphics card, let's throw it in there. Let's go see how it does.
All right, guys, now that we have this very interesting RX 580 on our test bench, let's go ahead and test in some games and see if it's legit. Now, the games decided to test are as follows. We have Cyberpunk, Far Cry 6, Apex Legends, Warzone 2.0, and of course, Fortnite. Now, one thing to mention, when we are running Cyberpunk and Far Cry 6, we are not going to be using FSR, mainly because this is an RX 580 2048 stream processor card. We have tested these so many times on the channel, and every single time we do it, we do test with FSR because we really do recommend FSR with these budget cards to get the most out of them. But just for the sake of doing something a little bit different and showing you guys the absolute worst case scenario of these graphics cards, we decided to run no FSR for the built-in benchmarks, and let me know down below what you think of that. First up with Cyberpunk, 1080p low settings with, again, no FSR enabled. We got an average of 48 FPS, a minimum of 30, and a max of 62. As you can see, without FSR, we are not going to get a 60 FPS average in a game like Cyberpunk, which is to be expected. Cyberpunk is a very demanding AAA title still. With continual updates, it's really hard to max that game out at 60 FPS with a graphics card that is this old, and especially at the price point of under $100, I don't necessarily expect it to. Now, one thing I do find funny with this graphics card before we move on to the next game is some of the advertising on the AliExpress listing. One of the advertisement pictures shows RTX on versus RTX off with the RX 580, saying the RX 580 advanced platforms with AI technology is able to unleash the power of graphics cards, making the picture quality more realistic and faster. The advertising on these AliExpress cards are absolutely ridiculous. It's a 580 2048 stream processor. It is $81. Don't even be considering ray tracing or any sort of AI features. It's just a weird 580 that some of you are probably going to buy because for 80 bucks, it's performing pretty good so far. Now let's dive into Far Cry 6, 1080p low settings, and again, no FSR. We end up getting an average of 77 FPS, a max of 84, and a minimum of 67. I will say the performance numbers were very impressive. 1080p low settings, getting 60 plus FPS. With FSR, I'd imagine you gain about 10 to 15 FPS pretty easily, but again, at 1080p running no FSR, you're gonna get the best visual quality. Running FSR at 1080p does cause some weirdness in terms of the image quality, and it's not really recommended, but if you're a frame chaser and want to get the most FPS for your money, I would highly suggest trying FSR at least and seeing if it's something you can deal with. Now, we'll say, because this is a 3-fan 580, it's gonna run cooler than most RX 580s on the market, especially these aftermarket ones that go for very cheap heat sinks. A lot of the ones we've gotten have really low quality heat sinks, and the graphics card runs anywhere between 75 to 80 degrees Celsius. This one didn't peak at 70, it pretty much hovered around 66, 67 degrees Celsius, which is pretty impressive for this card, especially how old it is and how inefficient it is compared to newer cards on the market. So if you're someone who's really looking for a very efficient 580 2048 stream processor, this one is definitely for you. Now let's talk about Apex Legends. 1080p medium settings, we end up getting an average of 80 to 90 FPS and got 100 at times. This is the point of the video where I like to tell you guys what I would pair with this 580. I think you can make a really clean build around this graphics card with some pink sleeve cables and stuff like that. You could use like a 10 Gen i5 on the used market. You could look at the Ryzen 5 3600 on the used market if you want to go all used here. But if you're looking to buy new, still the i3 10100F or the i3 12100F are really good options. You can get good motherboards and everything and build a PC for anywhere between like $350 to $400. $500 is the most I would spend on a PC with this graphics card, considering it is a more budget card, but it is still very doable to build a very clean PC under $500 around this theme of a graphics card, which I still think is pretty cool that this does exist. Now let's play something a little more demanding. Warzone 2.0 Resurgence 1080p with the basic settings and balanced FSR 1.0, which we want to bring in FSR for a game like Warzone because you really want to get the most FPS possible in this game. And I was shockingly surprised. 90 to 100 FPS, 120 at times. It was surprisingly good in terms of Warzone with FSR 1.0. Now again, it all depends on what CPU you pair with this thing as well. In a game like Warzone, Warzone really likes multi-threaded CPUs. So if you're running something similar to what we have in this test bench, a Ryzen 7 5700X, which I don't necessarily recommend, you're going to get really good results because they will be using that CPU a bit. But getting 90 to 100 FPS is more than playable, close to high refresh rate. And I think if you did something like a Ryzen 5 3600, you would get very similar results to this, or a Ryzen 5 5600, another option that would work well in the new market. You would get very similar numbers to this. So yeah, Warzone 2.0 more than playable. Now, the last game, of course, we have to test is Fortnite. We got 1080p medium settings with quality TSR. Again, that is another version of upscaling that's not FSR, but is built into Fortnite, and will be coming to other graphics cards soon in other games, so stay tuned for that. But we're getting 90 to 100 FPS and 120 at times, but I do have to give a disclaimer again, with a game like Fortnite, especially running medium settings, we are going to be relying a lot more on that CPU, so this is just more of a test of best case scenario with this 580 if you pair it with a very solid CPU. So in recap, I really can't complain about this graphics card. If you are in the market for something that looks like this graphics card, under $100 is really hard to beat. It's a 3-fan card. It has really cool graphics on it, and it performs very well. It's a 580 2048 stream processor. The only complaint I do have is there are cheaper options. So if you don't want a 3-fan card and you don't need a 3-fan card when it comes to this 580, you could buy some for around $60, $66 that are all white on AliExpress as well and do look really clean. You're really just paying the extra $20 or so for the graphics on this graphics card. And if that's something you're looking for, then definitely check that link down below. It will be an affiliate link and it will help us out. Let us know what you think of this graphics card in the comment section down below. Would you build a gaming PC around it? And should we build a gaming PC around it? We most likely will, but I'm not really sure what we're going to do yet. Let us know in the comment section down below. So now we finished the benchmarking section of today's video. How to bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
So now that you guys have seen some benchmarks and you're probably wondering how did it really compare to a normal 2-fan RX 580 2048, and the biggest difference was obviously just noise and temperature. I mean, it is still just a standard 580 2048, but with those big 3-fan design and that big radiator, it does run quieter and you get about 10 degrees off the overall load.
And yeah, for the price difference, it might be worth it for some of you, especially with the design. You can easily put together like an all-white build that's really cheap using this graphics card if you're okay with the graphic. I mean, obviously this is only for certain people who really care about that, but as Jackson was mentioning, kind of jokingly, with like a height Y60, this vertically mounted would actually look pretty sick. And we're talking about a card that's under $100. So if you're looking to do a really clean budget build and like the graphic of this, well, graphics card, check the links in the description down below. They will be affiliate links and they will help us out. You can pick this up from AliExpress, which is the only place I think you can get it right now, or you can take a look at AliExpress for all the other 580 options that they do have that are even cheaper, around $60, that we'll be making making more videos on here on the channel.
So we hope you guys enjoyed today's benchmark video. If you did, check out our other two YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/toastybros, and do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hey, we'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
So the best part about these benchmark videos is when we're done with the graphics cards, we get to throw them in a PCBros.tech gaming PC, which is our PC selling business, and we plan almost every single build over there, so it's hand curated.
PCBros.tech, gaming PCs, gaming laptops, and so much more. Use code TOASTYBROS2 and check out. You'll save 2% on your next purchase. See you guys later. Bye-bye.